Good morning. I'm Carlton Sharp, pastor of Faith Christian Center Church right here in Beaumont, Texas. And we're here on what's happening in our neighborhood. And today my special guest is Constable Javon Pollard and Deputy James Locke.
Good morning, Pastor.
Welcome back.
Good morning. Good to be back.
Are you sure? Hey, last time we came, we had a great time. I think you introduced your new program called NERD. So tell everybody what NERD is all about.
Sure. NERD is neighborhood empowerment and relationship development. And what we're trying to do is just make sure that we get out in the community and we engage with the citizens and give them information that can help them better their lives, and then also rebuild the trust between law enforcement and citizens. And so a lot of what we do is just try to get out there and talk to people and kind of sometimes explain to them why we do what we do and explain to them what we're looking for from them as far as the citizens when we encounter them, or if they call us out on a call, why we did this or why we didn't do that. So it's really based on just educating the citizens and just trying to communicate with them and just build a better working relationship.
Now, Deputy Locke, you have been going out into the community explaining all of this NERD program and all the things about the stopping by police officers, correct?
That's correct. That's correct. Basically, like Constable said, we're just trying to build the relationships. We, as police officers, we don't solve crimes on our own. We need the community, and the only way to do that is to have that relationship where they feel comfortable with calling us so that we have the information that we need to solve crimes.
Well, and that's what's so important because, when it comes down to policing our community, the citizens are very important to that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, you also introduced the children's ID card and the seniors' ID card.
Right.
So how are we on that?
It's going great. We got a great response at the back to school program that they had at the Sterling Pruitt Center a couple of weeks ago, and it was overwhelming. We were able to do close to about 200 kids there at the Sterling Pruitt Center, and I'm actually meeting with Bevel Oaks today because they want us to get out there and do the program with their kids as well. So the response has been awesome. We're working on the senior ID cards. Should have that prototype up and running about mid-September.
Now explain what that is. I mean, you're going to be fingerprinting the kids, so that they...
Right. We tell parents, every 6 months you should update your child's information.
Every 6 months.
Kids change. Kids change. So every 6 months, update your child's information. But what we do is we take a current picture. We get all the current information for the child, current doctor, things of that nature. We do take the fingerprints as well. And you just want to have the information because a lot of times everybody gets the Amber Alerts on their phone, but when you're going through it and you're emotionally distraught and you're worried about your child, it's just a lot easier to hand the card to the officer versus trying to explain to them what the child looks like, the child's height, build, weight, eye color. Those are things that but as a parent going through it, you're just not thinking about that. You're just thinking about where is my child.
Right.
So it's easier.
And even for a senior citizen, it's good for them.
Absolutely. I had a situation with my wife's grandmother, and she was disoriented, and she got lost. And having a identification card could have helped expedite the police officers as far as getting her where she needed to go. So it's very, very important to have information that can help.
Yes. Now today we're going to talk about a new law that's been enacted, right?
Yes.
Let's talk about that right now.
Well, September the 1st, there's going to be a myriad of new laws that go into effect in the state of Texas, and so we encourage everybody to get online and to see what those laws are. There's at least 12 that we feel like are pretty substantial that will benefit.
12 laws?
There's more than that, but there's at least 12 you might want to pay attention to. And some of them are good, like the surcharges are going away from DPS. Some of the surcharges are going away.
What about the long lines?
We don't have no control over that. But there are some that we want to pay attention to, especially as it pertains to our youth and just young adults and adults, period. One of them in particular is sending pictures. The law has changed now where unless they ask for it first, you cannot send a sexually explicit picture, or even now the law has changed where you can't send a picture, and y'all can look up the word turgid, I'm sorry, Turgid, I believe. Look up that word, parents, and even grown-ups. A male cannot send that type of picture either.
Wow.
And so now it's an automatic Class C. If you send a picture and they didn't request it, you have committed an offense.
Well, Deputy, I mean, these young people now, I mean, that's what they do. Snapchat and all the other social media outlets. I mean, that they think that it goes away real quick, but it's still going to be a Class C misdemeanor.
Absolutely, absolutely. Up until September 1, there was no law specifically for that. I've worked many cases, and we tried to put them under harassment, but it was kind of hard because harassment needs to be a reoccurring thing. And a lot of times those pictures are just a one-picture thing. So now there's a law specifically for that.
Right. And so you want to get the word out to the parents. Parents,
Yes.
talk to your teenagers.
Talk to your teenagers, and I explain that to my teenager as well, and the kids that are in my immediate circle, I explain that to them as well. First of all, that stuff never goes away.
Never.
Snapchat does not go away.
They say it's a minute or whatever, however many seconds.
No.
It does not go away, young
No.
people. It does not go away.
Trust me, there are avenues that law enforcement uses to subpoena that information. It's all that stuff is stored on servers, and so it's always there. And so we want to make sure that people understand you cannot send a girl, or a guy a sexually explicit
That's
picture
good.
of you.
That's good.
Without them first requesting it. You can't be like, hey, check me out, because now you've committed an offense. So,
Okay, but now what about transmitting images that are sexually explicit? I mean,
It falls under the same statute.
you can't.
wow.
You can't do it.
So just don't do it at all.
Don't
Just-
do it all.
Unless they say, hey, send me a picture of you, which I encourage teens, do not ever
Don't do
send
it.
a
Don't
picture.
do it.
Even, I tell them, even if they ask, don't do it, because that's something that you're going to have to live with for the rest of your life. And it's a decision that you're making when you're young, but when you get older, you don't want that stuff floating around of you or whatever else. But especially now with the new law, September the 1st, you cannot send it without them requesting it. And if you send it without them requesting it, it's an automatic Class C offense.
Okay, so let me make sure I understand this. Okay, so if a person requests a picture, an adult requests a picture of another adult,
Right.
then they could send it.
Correct.
Right.
But we don't want you to do that. Look, I want to make sure you understand. We don't want you to do that, but I'm just trying to clarify the law.
the law.
Okay, an adult requesting another image of an adult.
Mm-hmm.
If there's no request, then that's a Class C misdemeanor.
Right.
Okay.
If a person
If a person,
sends a picture,
male or female,
right, without that other person first requesting it, it's an offense now.
okay,
Well, starting September the 1st.
starting September 1st. Okay, so what about young people? Now, because that gets in a different category
Right.
than this one.
Right, and you'll start getting into the definition of child, and then you'll start getting into the definition of adult, but the statute is talking about person. And so you have to be very careful. Of course, we don't want children sending adults pictures because that falls under a whole other set of statutes. This statute is particular to unsolicited sexual-oriented pictures. And it's specific about if it's not solicited and you send it, it's against the law now.
Wow. Okay. All right, people. Y'all better get this. Man, this is because now with technology, I mean, everybody has a cell phone.
That's right.
And and for some odd reason, I haven't got a grasp on it yet, or why. I want to send my image to somebody else.
I don't either.
And the tricky part is the tricky part to this entire statute is, like Constable said, ages. You have to remember, in high school, you have 15-year-olds and you have 18-year-olds.
Correct.
An 18-year-old is an adult.
Ooh.
A 15-year-old is a child. So that could be child pornography, which is a felony. So you have to be very, very careful.
Ooh,
so
that-
the best thing to do is not to do it all. That's what we're trying to put out there.
Now that's very important because you have a senior in high school and a sophomore in high school, different age groups, and could be qualified in different categories.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
And a lot of times the DA they'll try to give a little leniency for a dating relationship, but then sometimes they may not. And so the thing is, do you want to take that risk? Whether the DA will say, okay, y'all are in a dating relationship, so I won't charge you, or the DA could say, I'm not worried about that, even though it's something for me to consider. I'm going to charge you this way. So it's one of them things where you just kind of, you don't want to leave it up to the DA to interpret it however he wants to interpret it, and you just want to not send it. And
Don't send it.
Don't press send.
Don't do it.
Okay. Now let me ask this. So how would law enforcement get involved in this type of situation? I mean, will a parent have to report it to law enforcement and say, hey, look, this is what has been happening with my child?
It could be a parent that reports it, and if a parent does see it, probably would be a good idea to report it, because if they don't and somehow the investigation leads to the parent knowing about it, now the parent is in trouble also because they had knowledge of it. You see what we saying? So that it can snowball.
It can snowball.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Okay, so now with all of the ISDs having their own police departments, and let's just say that a child in high school receives a picture, are you suggesting to them or encouraging them to report that to one of the ISD officers?
Absolutely, and hopefully, and I'm pretty sure that the ISD PDs here in the area have good relationships built in with the students that they are, in charge of, where the students feel comfortable enough. But I will tell you, most of the time, working 4 or 5 years at Port Arthur ISD, we got the information from the student confiding in a teacher or confiding in a counselor, and then the information was brought to us.
Yeah.
And then once it gets to us, children of a certain age, which I believe it's 16, they are able to decide whether they want to file charges or not, independent of the parent.
Wow.
And so it just kind of depends on what the child wants to do, because a lot of times the students don't want to seem like they're getting their friends in trouble or snitching or whatever the case may be. But at the same time, I think once people are more aware of what this is and what it's going to be, I think will kind of, dictate how the ISD PDs handle the situations.
Wow. So Deputy Locke, is this one of the things that you're going to add to your communication to the public?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm in talks now with some of the high schools, and we're trying to set up some schedules where we can get in there and educate these kids, because ignorance is not a defense of prosecution.
Wow.
You can't go and say, well, I'm sorry, I didn't know.
That's good.
It's not a defense of prosecution. So we're going to make sure that every student in our area knows about this law, so they can't say we didn't know.
Yeah, every kid in Jefferson County and the surrounding areas, look, you need to know. Parents, you need to know this.
We feel strongly about it because we need to stay on top of the laws as they're changing, especially as they pertain to our students, because what we don't want to do is see our kids unnecessarily going through the system behind something that they may not be aware of. And so if we can, offer information to parents and to students to help them stay out of the system for things as silly as this, because like Deputy Locke said, it can snowball, and you think you're doing something as simple as a whatever, but if that girl is 13 and you send a picture, or she sends you a picture, and then you airdrop it to 20 other people, now you've distributed child pornography. Now you've gotten a felony, and you're 15 years old, and you're looking up and you're like, what happened? And so if we can keep people out of that, that's kind of what we're trying to do, is we're trying to head all that off with just educating people as much as we possibly can.
Now, what is the fine for a Class C misdemeanor? What is the penalty? Class
C's are usually up to a $500 max on a Class C fine. Then depending on usually what the offense is, as far as the Class C, will dictate whether the judge issues you that $1 fine or a $250 fine or a $100 fine or up to a $500 fine. So it just kind of depends.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I don't think anybody really just wants to throw around an extra $250, $500.
No, but then it goes on your record.
It goes on your record. And some people may say, okay, well, it's only a ticket, it's only a fine. But if it's done, multiple times, the courts can actually have that person to register as a sex offender.
Wow.
That's another part of that. Again, this is a brand new statute. And it's gonna change, it's gonna evolve. But those are possibilities also.
Wow.
As a deterrent. Yes.
That these people can be labeled
It's a possibility.
a possibility as a sex offender.
Repeat offenders, and then like
Wow.
I said, if you start here, but based on other statutes of the law, you can quickly maneuver into a Class B or a Class A or a felony or whatever else. And so, like I said, you look up and you think you're doing something as simple as whatever, but if you look up, now you're facing felony charges. And so it's the line is so fine. It's just better just to not send it at all.
Wow. So Deputy Locke, what would you tell the parents in order to help their kids understand this new law?
I would sit your child down. I did it myself. I have a high school junior, and matter of fact, last night I sat down and I talked to her and I explained to her all the ramifications, of this statute. Of course, she said I would never do that. I said, good answer, but I'm gonna tell you anyway. So realistically, you have to talk to your kids and let them know realistically what can happen, and not just because it's the law. But these things can come back and haunt you years down the line when you're an adult.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be applying for a job and something come up that happened 10 years ago.
Yeah.
That can hinder you from getting a job.
Because now employers are looking at individual social media
Yes, they
accounts
are.
to determine whether or not
Scholarship
Ooh,
colleges are looking
that's
at that
good.
information too.
Yeah.
And people are not, being accepted into colleges and getting scholarships based on
Wow.
what's on their record and what's on their transcript and what's on their social media. So you have to be very careful.
Hey, this is so important. This new law, and again, constable and deputy are going to be going out to the community to explain these new different laws that are coming out that's going to affect your life, and you just need to adhere to them.
Yeah, absolutely. It's easier. Life's easier.
It is a lot easier when you obey the law. Hey, listen, let me just say this. On a monthly basis, Deputy Constable and Deputy Locker will be coming back on what's happening in our neighborhood to talk to us about different things that are affecting our community. And so I want to thank y'all in advance for taking the time to come and educate us, because I like what you said, ignorance is no defense. It's no defense.
It's not.
And so they're going to be back every month to talk about some different thing that happens in law enforcement, to educate us, the public, on what we need to know about what's going on in our area. Man, this is good.
Yes, we're excited, and just a little commercial about what we're going to talk about next month. We know there's a big problem right now with juveniles by the malls and areas like that, and so Deputy Locke and I have been talking about that, and we're going to bring back information next month on how we can kind of help stem the tide of that group of juveniles that's running around terrorizing people at the malls.
Because, I'm going to just throw it in right now. Parents are using the mall as a daycare center.
Yes, they are.
And that shouldn't be.
Right.
Unsupervised.
Yep.
And it becomes a mob mentality.
That's right.
And
yeah, and it came to a little bit of a head last weekend. And first and foremost, we want the kids to be safe, because we don't want the kids to roll up on the wrong adult with that behavior, and then somebody gets seriously hurt or loses their lives. And so Deputy Lockett and I have been talking about that, and we're getting information together and getting with Beaumont PD and the Sheriff's Office, and we'll have information to bring back to you guys next month.
Okay, and hey, can I also suggest that we, one of the shows that we talk about concealed weapons?
Sure.
And that way, people understand,
Because the laws about that have changed too.
Hey, we got some good information. Hey, listen, do this also. If you have a subject matter that you want Constable and Deputy to talk about, why don't you put it in the comments section right now, and we'll get it to them, and that way we'll have questions that you want answered, and we can ask,
Absolutely.
question and answer.
Yep, that sounds
Ask
perfect.
the Constable and the Deputy. Hey, look, we have a great time on our show, but yeah, we're gonna do that.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Ask the Constable and the Deputy.
I like the sound of that.
All right, we have to get a graphic and say, ask the Constable and the Deputy. But what these new laws are and what's going on in our community.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I'm excited about
Yes.
next month's topic.
Right.
Ooh, and the months after that. So listen, I want to thank the Constable and the Deputy for coming to talk to us about this new law. Now remember, it's better advised that you don't take sexually explicit pictures and send them at all. That's what I recommend to you. Just keep that to yourself and in the privacy of your own home. But if you do, the other person has to request it
That's right.
as an adult.
Yes.
as an adult.
Yes.
As an adult to another adult.
Yes.
Okay, they have to request it, and if they request it, okay, the law covers you. But if not, you might find yourself with a Class C misdemeanor. So be advised of this new law that's coming out this month in September. So again, I want to thank them for joining us, and I want to thank you for joining us on what's happening in our neighborhood. And we will see you next time on our broadcast.